Yep.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Hightop Sports. We've got Gator legend here, 2006 national champion Chris Lee. Chris, we really appreciate you hopping on, man, and doing this. Really excited to pick your brain, and again, happy to have you here today, man.
Absolutely. Thanks for you guys coming on, and happy to talk ball and quarterbacks, and it's an exciting time for football. It's football season, preseason games have started, so I'm excited for this new football season.
Yeah, man, it's that the buzz is there. We've been talking about it. We can't get it enough. It's at a point where the fan bases are at each other's throats. We need some football to settle all of the offseason debates. That's kind of where we're
Right.
at right now, man, for sure. But look, I want to talk to you about, obviously, Swamp Kings came out a few years ago. That's obviously a big thing that you were a part of. We've got this new documentary that just came out recently. Talk to us a little bit about your time playing at Florida, some of your fondest memories for some of these Gator fans that we'd like to hear from your side of it.
Well, I mean, my year started in 2003. Ron Zook was recruiting me. He was my head coach for 2 years, and he's the reason why I wanted to be a Gator. And like my story, with Ron Zook being my head coach for 2 years, Urban Meyer for 2 years. Like I had a lot of different offensive coordinators, had a lot of uh, fluctuations while I was at Florida, and it was a
Sure.
time where obviously after Coach Spurrier had left, and so there was a lot of uncertainty, but there was a lot of hopes, and transitioning into different recruiting classes and different styles of recruiting. So it was a point of like kind of nobody really. Obviously, being in Florida, expectations are always to compete for SEC, compete for a national championship. But I was happy to be able to commit in 2003, and to kind of solidify that period of Gator football where was very uncertain, and I wanted to come in and start for 4 years, and I had the opportunity to had Ronza gave me an equal opportunity to do that, and and was able to take that along with a lot of other big senior class, and we were able to finish off and accomplish that mission of bringing the national title back to the Gators back in 2006. So it was a journey that was that didn't lack adversity for sure, but there
Sure.
was a lot of and a lot of guys that got a lot of great stories to tell. Um, much more probably intriguing than mine, but I was just happy to be a part of that and to finish and pretty much to accomplish the mission that we set off to accomplish, which was win a national title for the Florida Gators.
Absolutely. And you talk about being recruited by Zook. We have Stephen Harris. He's a regular on our show as part of the group on our Monday for Champs Corner, and obviously being a champ. And he talks about being recruited by Rook and Ron Zook, excuse me, and how he was such a big impact. And I've asked him and a couple other players, because all of you went from uh, Zook to Urban, which was a dramatic transition. Obviously, we've hear the bits and pieces from Swamp Kings and other players. And we always ask you, obviously, with the portal now, big difference from when you were playing. Talk to us about that. When Urban comes in, that transition, how that impact was for you. Were you questioning, like, hey, do I want to be here? Is there an option for me to leave? Or were you bought in regardless of who was coming in?
Yeah, the thing that Ron Zook and I would say at the time, my freshman year coming in, our big senior leader was Rand Carthon, who many know was the Titans GM not
Yeah,
too long ago, and so those two guys really took me under their wing and really taught me what it meant to be a Gator. And I came really to play for the Florida Gators, and I understood the nature of the business that you're going to have different. Most of the time, when you're at big programs like that, you might have different coaches, and so
okay.
I was committed. I was committed to the Gators more than anything, and it definitely obviously didn't come without the adversity of having coaching changes, being in a system that was built around me to going in a system that wasn't built for me at all. So being able to go through those things where you're uncomfortable every day because not a lot of things fit what you do best, but you're there, you're committed to the team, you're committed to your teammates that stuck around, and a lot of guys that I was on the team with, they never experienced experienced a championship. I had experienced 3 state championships as a high school athlete. A lot of guys didn't, and I really wanted to bring that to them and into their lives and be a part of that as well. And and to be able to lead that ship and steady that ship as we were going through that transition period, because it was a tough transition period.
Sure.
A lot of guys elected. A lot of guys elected to transfer and go other places, but I was committed to the Gators through in and throughout.
Love that. Dave?
Yeah, you talk about Urban Meyer coming in, Ron Zook. First of all, obviously you were coached by Ron Zook half the time you were there. The other half was Urban. Take me back to Zook's last game. We all know it was against Florida State. He came, y'all sent him out a winner. That was a really good celebration that you guys had. And then Urban coming in, obviously you were more of the pro style guy. He comes in with a new spread system in the SEC. How, first of all, obviously sending off Ron Zook, could you answer that for us? And then adjusting to the spread offense. How difficult was that? What kind of culture shock was Urban Meyer to the locker room? That sort of thing. What was the ultimate adjustments for you, I guess, mentally, physically, and just game wise as well?
Well, obviously with Coach Zook, sending him off, that was huge for us. I really wanted to him to be the coach in that bowl game as well. I know that would have made a huge difference with him in there. Um, so definitely winning for Coach Zook after everything happened. I think after or pre Georgia, the pre Georgia week that year,
Yeah.
we really wanted to send Coach Zook, that coaching staff out the right way. I know me personally for sure. Um, the biggest thing about, especially when it comes to quarterbacks, when you're changing offenses, changing head coaches, changing philosophies, the biggest thing is the system. And as a quarterback who's not a big quarterback, smaller stature, who's gifted in throwing the football, when you come in with a coach who has a philosophy for option ball, it's definitely a different it's definitely a big adjustment. It's going to be adjustments in there. And so the big great thing is that I always look back, and I learned option football back in the sixth, seventh, and eighth grade. My dad used to take me and my brother to Nebraska's football camp every year, and I learned it
Okay.
straight from Tom Osborne and Tommy Frazier. So there's like those teachings of option football lasted me my entire career of option football, even today, because those staples of what option football is, those guys ran it better than anybody. And so that helped me a lot during that transition into Urban's offense, of understanding, the blocking, the quarterback decision making, and that's fourth. Even though it wasn't fit for me, the system wasn't fit for me. I was able to navigate it and manage it as best as I could, even being a really a drop back passer, a guy who made his biggest impact throwing the football.
I mean, look, having the most passing yards, it didn't seem to slow you down too much anyway. You just were able to have some major success while at Florida. And look, I think something. I mean, a Gator, a Gator legend, and obviously we have Stephen Harris on the show. He loves you. He talks very highly of you. Going into that senior year, Tebow's freshman year. That's a major moment. Talk to us about how you, as a senior quarterback, handle that transition. Honestly, I've learned through just watching these documentaries, especially with Mertz, that you guys are forced to grow up very quickly, especially at that time, and really take on this
Yeah.
leadership role. People don't look at it that way, but in reality, like, you're 18, 19, 20 years old, forced to really be the biggest person in the room, sometimes even over coaches. And I from the outside looking in, I mean, you handled that like a true champion, which is why I believe Florida went on to be what they were. And what's really gets overlooked is, like you said, hey, I was a Gator. For you to stick through all of that was allowed for this smooth transition to happen, which is, we appreciate you. But talk to us about that senior year and working alongside Tebow and managing, in a sense, those egos of, hey, we both want to be the guy. How can we make this thing work and to be as successful as possible?
Yeah, well, I remember coming in my freshman year, and it was a four-way battle for who was going to be the quarterback, and we were all going to get an equal opportunity. And I understood how that was a different dynamic than when Tim came in, because I was already a senior. I was already played 3 years, and so my biggest thing was, okay, I need to do anything that I can to obviously accomplish the mission of winning a national title, but also leave this place better than when I left it off.
Yeah.
And one of the things that when Tim came in from my experience with him, Tim didn't have a lot of like quarterback coaching, like individual quarterback coaching and development that I had because I had my dad teaching me from since I was 8 years old. So that was one of the things that I knew that his freshman year he really transitioned into really truly being a quarterback as far as understanding the systems, how to manage offenses, and really from week to week just how to study film and do the little detailed things that quarterbacks have to orient themselves, so they can be prepared for that week. And that goes regardless if the systems fit for you or not. You have to go through these things of first down, second down, third and long, third and medium, all these little nuances, no understanding what the defense does in the red zone. So those things I know that from just doing them a long time and understanding how to practice things like that are going to be very helpful to a young guy coming in because those are things that I had to pretty much learn myself as a freshman coming in competing for a starting job. I didn't have that. Rex Grossman had already left, so I didn't have that veteran quarterback in front of me to kind of teach me those ropes. So I had to kind of create that own system as I went. Obviously, my coaches at Zonebreaker, my office coordinator, my first year, Larry Fedora, my second year. Those guys helped me a lot through learning that. But it is something that you have to kind of figure out how to learn it, how to figure out what works for you, and so I had to do that throughout those 3 years. And when you change coordinators and change systems, it can become very difficult. So yeah, so it was definitely not easy, but I definitely wanted to leave Florida better off, just like I did in high school. Uh, I always wanted the guy that was coming behind me to have a solid foundation to where he could come in and have success. And with Tim winning the Heisman, the following year, that was a very happy moment for me because I really feel like I left it in a good place
Yeah.
for him.
And I think it gets
Yeah.
overlooked a lot. And it also one shows where you were as a person comfortable, like, hey, I know who I am, what I'm able to do. I can still help and still be successful. And we saw it in this new documentary with Mert kind of passing off to DJ. Everybody wants these freshmen to come in and be phenoms, which we get it. But I think you just nailed it on the head of like, no matter how great you are, there's so much to learn. And there is a massive advantage of having somebody like yourself be able to pass the buck. And that's where Florida has definitely, I would say, struggled over the last couple of years. We had a nice transition this past one, but that's awesome. I loved hearing that. Dave, go ahead.
Yeah, I know we don't have a lot of time, so obviously your senior year it culminates into winning a national championship, and that's probably the best thing that could probably ever happen to somebody in their senior year, especially being the starting quarterback at a university. VP of
Yeah,
that
yeah,
game as well.
yeah. It really was a mission accomplished feeling. People talk to me about that week. I mean, my parents really enjoyed the week. I know the fans really did. Outside of it being like overwhelmingly more Ohio State fans in Arizona, but it really was a joyful week, and we were so locked in on obviously the game plan and those type things, but to go out that way to prepare for an entire month for one game, that obviously was a big advantage for us, and get everybody back healthy because we had a lot of guys injured from that. We had a really tough SEC schedule as the Gators do this year. But it can be done. We had a really tough schedule. I know you got guys that got a tough schedule this year, and I had one last year. But it can be done if you bring everybody together. Obviously, you have excellent quarterback play. Defense plays really well on the road. You can have a lot of success in the SEC.
I would like to ask
Yeah.
this, who was one of your favorite players you played with during your time and the reason why they're your favorite? Somebody that we may not think that was your favorite.
Right. Well, I'll give you two. I can give you who I think the best player I ever played with, which is pretty easy when people think about it, was Percy Harvin. Percy Harvin was probably the greatest player I ever played with.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
And people just saying who he is. Sean Taylor would be the next guy that I didn't play with, but seen on the football field, Sean Taylor would be the next guy that probably the greatest player I've ever seen on the football field. So they got pressed pretty good company. Probably the most unsung hero was probably one of the biggest anchors, especially at Florida football, was a guy named Billy Latsko. Billy Latsko was a walk-on. He played fullback. He played linebacker at one point, but he was a huge guy. Where especially my senior year and part of the later in my junior year, he was a huge part of the offense as far as blocking, protecting, getting out in the flats, things like that on some play action passes. So he was a huge. Without him and without him staying healthy every week, which he was, and available every week, he was one of my favorite all time Gators. And Chris Hedlund would be another one, that kicker, because he bailed us out so many times offensively, especially when we struggled just simply because of the system. Just getting used to the system. He helped us out, getting points on the board. And and Eric Wilbur was another one. Like my special teams guys, which Billy Latsko was too. Like I can't say enough about them because they don't get the credit they really deserve, because them being able to pin guys deep, when we had to punt and those things, they allowed me to play within myself a lot more and not force things. And so yeah, those special teams guys, Billy Latsko, I mean they really gave me a sense of security. Being in a system where I could tell you guys for 2 years I felt uncomfortable in every day, practice, game, because I understood that but I had to understand that the system wasn't fit for me.
Yeah,
which was obviously the complete opposite my first 2 years. But you know what, my dad allowed me to be able to adapt, improvise, and overcome things. So that's how he trained me and my brother over the years, and so I was able to adapt to different systems and try to manage it and make the best of it.
but we had Eric Wilbur on Wednesday. That's too cool. Hundreds of people too. I love that.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Good stuff. I was gonna ask you about yourself, Dave. Do you have one more thing you wanted to ask before we let him go?
No, I was just going to basically get his thoughts on the national championship game after winning it and kind of what his thoughts were during the game. What's the biggest takeaway that what's the, like, now being the age that you are, what's the biggest thing you remember most about that game?
Man. Probably, I was expecting a shootout, for the game. I was expecting the score to be somewhere around 42-45, something like that, because I understood that we were going against an explosive offense. Their defense, I mean, I think they had 7 NFL guys, maybe more on that team. So I knew it was going to be I expected to be a lot tougher battle, but I can't understate the preparation that went through it. What I think the things that Urban did as far as setting guys' mindsets up for that game, and the motivation that went towards it, but the preparation, having an entire month to prepare for one game, for me personally that was probably the easiest preparation game I've ever had. Ohio State was really in but not break defense. Their offense was so explosive that year; they scored a lot of points. So the defense just had to kind of keep teams at bay outside of the Michigan game that year. So we felt like offensively, with the speed that we had, with our guys coming back healthy, that we had a really, really big chance to put up some points. And obviously you saw that with, I believe we scored 41 points that game.
Yeah, I was about to say, someone put up 40, so you were right at one half of the score.
Yeah. Man. Our defense was lights out. And I always tell people, probably the picture that kind of told the story about the 2006 Florida Gators was Earl Everett running without his helmet on and going to sack the quarterback. That was probably the quintessential picture of the 2006 Gators, was that toughness that we had, playing great defense, coming up on offense when we did too, and just finishing games that year.
Says last two things, and then I want to talk to you about what Chris is doing now, and where your career is headed. I know you're coaching. I want to ask you about that. But Stephen Harris, like I said, he's part of our show. He's part of the family. Should we watch out for him?
Right.
Is he a good guy? Kind of. We need some back. We just want to get some background, close to the chest. If we need to keep our eyes open for him, any wise words for us?
Well, I'll tell you this. That national championship game after we had the crystal ball ceremony, and I had a chance to have my few moments with the crystal ball. The first guy I handed it to was him. So
Wow.
yeah, he took it. I don't know where it went from there, but he took it around. I'm sure he got plenty of pictures with it for sure. but Steve was like he was an anchor on the defense, and I can't tell you enough about this guy. When I was a freshman coming in, you're a little nervous to get to know everybody, and Steve was one of those guys that really just helped usher me in, because I was a pretty shy guy, pretty much to myself, just work hard, keep my head down. But he was a guy that helped me open up. It's even around campus. He was one of the few guys that I guess early on used to just come and just talk to me, just try to get to know me. So he's that type of guy to help guys out, and he has a big heart.
You're not wrong on that. Everything you said backs it up. That's awesome to hear. Talk to us about what you got going on, man, and what the life of Leak looks like now after many years of winning a national champion.
Yeah, I've been coaching quarterbacks for a while now, and I really focused on the high school, middle school, and elementary school age kids, and everybody knows that with NIL, now the kids, especially at the quarterback position, have to begin developing sooner, because in order for you to be able to have an opportunity to come in and play as a freshman in college, you have to be developed and ready to go through high school, and helping kids get in the right systems, helping them, setting a foundation for them early on so that they can have that opportunity. Because now, as an 18-year-old going into college, you're going to be competing against 21, 22-year-olds, guys who have been in the strength and conditioning programs, guys who have a lot of experience playing. So you have to come in ready to play, ready to compete right now. So I've really put my attention over the last decade of helping young quarterbacks develop, setting a foundation for them to develop sooner, so they can have the opportunity that I had, to start as a true freshman.
To transition, like we were just talking about, a little more smoothly than what it has been. Some names we should keep an eye out for coming from your camps?
Does any of those names
Yeah, so a lot of them have a lot of offers, committable offers, I would like to say too. And no, I'm gonna hold off on them, but because they're still developing, and I really want them to have a chance to kind of explode out on their own. And but they always have my full support, and we try to do all the work in the kind of in the back cave, and it will come out when it's time to come out.
I love it.
Yeah, real quick before we let you go, man. How's little Rojas doing?
Good, man. He's one of those kids, man. He's there's some kids that, especially at a young age, they just have that it factor. You don't know what it is, but they have it. They have the desire. They want to be great, and he's a multi-sport athlete. So he's been awesome, man. His dad is so supportive of everything that he does, and he gets he knows I coach him hard, man. I coach him hard. They understand that I take the quarterback position very seriously. It's a passion of mine, and they as I tell them all the time, you won't get a more detailed, oriented coach than me, because I want you to be able to excel and reach your full potential and maximize your potential as a quarterback. So it's been really fun. He's an extraordinary young man, and I've been really blessed to be able to coach him.
Incredible. Well, Chris, this has been a dream, man. Growing up as a little kid, watching you play, and then have the ability to sit down and have a conversation with you. Got to pinch myself a little bit. This is too cool. So really appreciate you taking this time, man, and having these conversations with us. Be able to live it years later in this light is too cool. I know the fans will appreciate you taking the time as well, man. So thank you. Be safe, and good luck with all your quarterbacks, and we hope to see them soon, man.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate the time. Go Gators.
Go Gators, man. Thank you. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I mean, that was...
Yeah. That was awesome, man.
I was sweating. I ain't gonna lie, man. I think it was, really, again, really appreciate him taking that time. These guys are busy, man. And can we shout out to who got it? Well, shout out to Dave for working his magic. And can we shout out so-and-so?
I was told by a bunch of Georgia fans I have no sources, so.
Yeah, can we shout out, can we shout out Mr. Rojas? Are we allowed to do that?
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
Shout out our guy, Eddie. We haven't had Eddie on since he's been AI Eddie. He's been MIA Eddie, but over the last couple of months. But shout out to Eddie, man. This was incredible. Honestly, bro, Eddie, bro. I mean, what people don't know, because Eddie and Jen, and I gotta shoot Jen a message because I love Jen, Gator Jen. If it wasn't for them, I don't know where Hightop would be, to be perfectly honest with you, because they started the original collective. And that's kind of where I got my foot in the door. I remember having conversations with Eddie, proposing ideas to him. And Eddie was like, yeah, let's rock and roll. We tried certain things got denied, but his ambitions and I guess a little bit of mine, and then the Jen's work ethic was incredible. The fact that I was able to run into both of them took my calls, spoke to me and treated me and gave me as much respect, allowed for this thing to flourish much bigger than I think that I ever intended it to be. So just one more gift from Eddie there, allowing us to have this. And of course, Dave for keeping his foot down, grinding away and setting this thing up. I know he's been working on a ton of these interviews. So that was awesome. It's unreal that we can continue to have these conversations. It's awesome.
Yeah, that's the cool part about like people you meet in Gator Nation. Some of them, and Eddie and Jen have always been one of those, the two of those folks that have always been very respectful and very work ethic like, and they bleed orange and blue. And you know, it was sad to see Eddie go away from the NIL perspective of it,
and Gator and Jen,
and because I thought they had some of the most biggest Gator energy of all of us, and of course, life gets in the way, things happen, and at some point you got to make a transition somewhere else if that comes calling or whatever goes on in your life. But shout out to Eddie, shout out to Jen. Those two people, like I wouldn't have even been able to have as much success on the Getting Swamp podcast when I first had it before I even came to Hightop because of them. So I have to give them a shout out as well. And shout out to Eddie Rojas also for this Chris Leak interview, because we wouldn't have had that without him either. Yeah,
too cool stuff. And again, a lot of cool conversations. I can't wait to. How I'm gonna tease this interview is clip the Stephen Harris thing up. Stephen Harris is gonna love that, man. I know Steve loves it, man, too, because again, Steve put his blood, sweat, and tears. And at the time, you got to understand, man, when you're in it, you're doing what you can. And 19, 20-year-old kids, they probably understand the impact of people, but don't know how to express it. They're 20 years old, right? So for Steve to hear, I know it's a fantastic feeling to hear the brothers that he played with show him and give him his flowers years after, right? Lewis Murphy's come on into the same thing. Dallas Baker's come on into the same thing of like, this was our guy. And they probably didn't say it when it was happening because you don't think about it when it's happening. You realize it when you're sitting down, hanging with the boys, having a little bourbon at night, you go, man, if it wasn't for so-and-so, I don't know if we'd be here. We wouldn't have had these moments. And look, here's what was cool. Like, again, like every time we talk to somebody, he goes, yeah, when I held the crystal ball, which it always goes to the quarterback, the first person I handed it to was Stephen flipping Harris. Like, we shook hands with that man. We've touched the crystal. We're national champs, Dave.
Yeah. Hey, look, the closest I ever got to that trophy was the new facility. Like, it was locked up in a little, I guess, glass.
No, we're closer when we're touching Steve's hand. That's close.
Yeah, I know. Like, sometimes when I touch Steve's hand, I don't want to wash it, but that would be disgusting. But still, at the same time,
time to wrap it up.
You feel championship. You shake his hand, you're like, oh, championship, BCS. There you go.
Yeah. Crystal ball, baby. Crystal ball. Well, boys, I hope you guys enjoyed that show. I know that I did. I know that Dave did. Smash the like button. This show, it's Saturday. This is going to be published today. We'll be live tonight. We're going to try to get some insight on the first scrimmage that happened today. We're all in, boys. We told you we're not going anywhere. We took a day off yesterday, I guess you could say, but we posted a video. So if you haven't seen it, check it out. It's a fun little video. Really enjoyed making it. Y'all be good, though. Stay safe. We'll see you boys later on tonight.
Hightop boys, stay hot.
Peace and love, baby.